Hey broskies and groskies, welcome to Techy Tidbit Tuesday 3, where you can get all of your weekly little techie tidbit thingies. Anyways, this one might be a bit shorter. I do have a math midterm coming up, so I want to focus on that. But let's get started with the Nothing Phone 3A. The Nothing Phone 3A and 3A Pro was unveiled last week, and they both look pretty solid. Both have a 6.77-inch AMOLED display with 120Hz. Ha! Take that, iPhone 16e. And they come with Qualcomm Snapdragon chips. There's also a 5000 mAh battery, which is pretty neat. The Pro model specifically has a triple camera setup with a 3x optical periscope telephoto lens. Also, both models have the Essential key, which is a physical button that can use AI for tasks like screen capturing and recording voice notes. A physical button on the side of the phone. I wonder where I've heard that before. Either way, having that button is pretty neat. It's not really a straight up action button knockoff, rather a shortcut button to all your AI stuff, and it's a different shape than the other buttons, so you know which one you're pressing, which is pretty neat because the action button on the iPhone generally feels pretty similar to the other buttons on the iPhone. Overall, this seems like a much better deal than the iPhone 16e, at least hardware-wise. The Phone 3A starts at $379 and the 3A Pro starts at $459. The iPhone 16e, $599. Now that's a bad Apple. Speaking of bad apples, people are pissed about Apple Intelligence. So the iPhone 16, what's their marketing tagline? Hello Apple Intelligence, right? That's the big feature for this year's iPhones. Except the rollout has been kind of a mess. Like it didn't have any AI at all when it first came out, and then it got some AI features which range from mid to pure nightmare fuel. I have Apple Intelligence on my Mac and my iPad, I barely use them. Writing tools, occasionally, and maybe Magic Eraser once or twice, but other than that, it's really not that useful to me. The big feature a lot of people were hoping for was an enhanced Siri, one that could understand your personal contacts and stuff, and it would have stuff like on-screen awareness and app intent. Yeah, so that's delayed indefinitely. This whole revamp of Siri has been a nightmare, honestly. They released a Siri redesign with the glowing borders and everything, but there's been very minimal changes to the underlying Siri software itself, so it's confusing for the average consumer. Like, let's say your name is Jeff. You just saw an ad for the brand new iPhone 16 Pro Max, Hello Apple Intelligence. So you go and you buy the iPhone, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to use these cool new AI features, and then you realize they haven't come out yet. The primary reason they bought the phone isn't even available yet. So this is pretty rough, and honestly, the Siri name has just been dragged in the mud for years now, so it might be better for them to just create a whole new assistant and start fresh. But this isn't great, considering every single product that supports Apple Intelligence has it written there in fancy glowing letters, advertising it proudly, and yet it's not even fully out yet. If you go to your settings, it says it's still in beta. That's rough, and very unlike Apple to unveil such a half-baked product and then advertise said half-baked product everywhere. It's not looking too bright for Apple Intelligence at the moment. Now we're going to talk about the solar-powered Lenovo laptop, so we're gonna switch to LeBron. You are my sunshine. But it is looking pretty bright and sunny for the new solar-powered Lenovo laptop, literally. At Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, they showed off their Yoga Solar PC concept, which has solar panels on the laptop lid, so it can be powered by the sun. And they claim 20 minutes of exposure under direct sunlight can provide enough power for up to an hour of video playback, and it's able to monitor the solar panel's output stats and adjust settings on the fly to optimize energy conversion. This sounds cool in theory, but I feel like there's a couple fatal flaws. One, laptops don't like heat, so it doesn't seem like a great idea to fry it in direct sunlight. And two, if you have your laptop lid facing up towards the sun, how are you gonna see your screen? And if you have your laptop open, chances are your lid won't be facing directly up, so it won't be able to get access to direct sunlight. The most effective way to charge it through the sun would be by closing it and letting it soak outside. But just how often are you really bringing your laptop outside and then not using it? And I feel like at that point, I just charge it with a regular charger. Either way, it's important to remember that this is a concept, so it's not really intended to be released to the mass market. Rather, it's more just a cool tech demo, and I think it's pretty awesome, even if it is limited in practicality. I'd even say it's the hottest laptop of the year. Get it? 'Cause it's hot? Since it's in the sun? Yeah. Speaking of laptops, Apple released a 12-inch MacBook with USB-C 10 years ago. Welcome to your weekly techie tidbit of tech history, and this actually didn't happen on March 11th, but it happened on March 10th, so close enough. On March 10th, 2015, over 10 years ago, damn, Apple unveiled the 12-inch MacBook, which was crazy thin, had no fan, and just one USB-C port and a headphone jack, and nothing else. People didn't like it because it was impractical and had a weird butterfly keyboard, but it was very much ahead of its time and kind of set the standard for what MacBooks today are. And it was a really cool laptop too, honestly. Speaking of MacBooks, you know what else has a thin and light build, no fan, and USB-C? That's right, the MacBook Air. Who would have guessed? Anyways, Apple unveiled the M4 MacBook Air the day after unveiling the iPad Air and iPad 816, and oh boy, did they save the best for last. Which is a good thing because those iPads weren't the best updates. You can watch last week's Techy Tidbit Tuesday, to check it out. They got rid of the space gray color, which is sad, but in its place is this gorgeous sky blue color. Damn. And it has a new M4 chip with 16 gigs of RAM standard and a price that's been reduced by $100 compared to the previous model, making the base model with 16 gigs of RAM and 256 gigs of storage $999 freedom bucks, or $899 if you buy from the education store. Honestly, this ain't a bad deal, but I just wish they'd bump up the base storage on these to 512, because having 256 gigs of storage on a $1,000 laptop in 2025 is kind of ridiculous. Overall though, pretty solid update. Oh yeah, they also introduced the Mac Studio with M4 Max and M3 Ultra. It's hella powerful, so that's cool too. But now it's space time. So I'm officially making a new segment in this tech web show called Space Time, where we talk about, you guessed it, space. I'm so creative when it comes to naming things. If you came here just for tech news, go away. But if you like big rockets and big rocks floating in the sky, please stay. So SpaceX launched Starship Flight 8 after delaying it twice. They cut the booster again, but the ship, the actual part that will eventually be carrying people, exploded again. It looked really cool when it was exploding, but the thing is, this doesn't look too good for SpaceX. The previous flight, Flight 7, also had a similar ending, and that made things really complicated for SpaceX. And so I'd imagine Flight 8 also exploding will cause even more headaches for the engineers over there. Both Flights 8 and 7 use the new V2 ship, and these explosions might be indications of a fatal design flaw rather than a fluke. Either way, looking forward to the next flight, if it even happens. In other space news, Intuitive Machines sent a lander to the moon, and they did land, but the lander ended up on its side upon touchdown, and this made it so that the solar panels couldn't really recharge the lander because they couldn't get to the beautiful sun, so the mission was effectively ended. Firefly Aerospace, however, made a proper moon landing with their Blue Ghost lander in collaboration with NASA, so that's pretty awesome. They got some really cool shots and everything, and that concludes Space Time and this episode of TTT3. So be awesome, stay techy, bye! Part 2, because I don't know why I just stopped. Here we are recording this time.